Super exciting. All right, and we are live, ripping. Today is February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, Joey.
Yeah. Who better to spend it with?
That's right. All the people I love. Shit, yeah. All my helium peeps. So, what's up, Jim? Joey, what's going on this week? I got a whole list of shit, but let's start off with you.
It's been a while. I guess it's been a wild week, wild past couple of days. So I am change of scenery here. I'm actually in Salt Lake City today.
Oh, very
so
cool.
I flew myself out to hang out for Mountain Dow, which is kind of like a big Solana builder meetup.
Yep.
So getting a little FaceTime with folks here. People are excited about sensors, all fun, cool stuff to do with ecosystems kind of crossing over. So
Rad. I'm guessing there's a bunch of snow up
good.
in the mountains. Salt Lake has got snow, typically.
It's beautiful out the window. This little webcam's not going to do it justice, but yeah, it's mountains everywhere around me. So
Nice.
yeah, can't complain.
Super cool. And how long are you up there for?
Just let's see, Wednesday, tomorrow, and then I'll be heading back. So yeah, short visit, but I've been out here since Friday last week.
Okay.
And so yeah,
crushing in Salt Lake. Yeah, there's some good coffee there. Go down and say hi to the Black Rifle guys for me.
Oh,
if you're into that,
I can find that. Yeah.
Last time I was there, which was last time their shop was a couple of years ago. They had just built it out, and we did a podcast. Those guys are pretty funny. They've got some pretty amazing videos out there. So
I've seen some of their content. Yeah. Catchy stuff. Yeah.
They're the owner of that thing was ordering paleo treats in like 2011. And having him sent to Iraq. And I had reached out to him the other day about something else. And the only email I could find was his email from 2011 when we were like selling stuff on PayPal. And I was like, oh, no shit. Been a hot minute.
Huh. Well, that's a cool crossover. I would never expected that. But
yeah, it was.
Definitely aware of
I think when I showed up, we were talking. I was like, hey, Evan, we know a bunch of the same people. What's going on? He's like, oh, yeah, I used to buy paleo treats from you. Like, I know exactly who you are. I was like, no shit.
Wow. All right. Well, now I'm really going to have to go find them. Make sure they got a hotspot set up.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Okay. Let's see. So I did want to put out something off the bat. We were doing this for a while and then I just forgot about it, but just watch out for scammers. I'm seeing certainly on the WeatherXM side, where I'm more active in their Discord, some poor dude. And I feel super bad about this. There's nothing I can do. It's not my fault, but it feels bad. Some asshole took my profile pic and scammed some dude out of all of his demo tokens. I don't know what to say. Fucking be careful. I'm not going to DM you out of the blue. Probably not. Joey, I don't think will DM you out of the blue. So if you want to reach out, you're welcome to reach out to us. And if I do reach out to you, just check really carefully, and usually in public is the way to do it. So if you see that I hit you up on Discord, which sometimes I'll do, is just go to the public channel and be like, hey Nick, and tag me. Did you just hit me up in DMs? And then I'll confirm it. And if someone immediately says like, oh yeah, that was me, and it sounds like a little funky, like just look at their username. So just be really, 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 really fucking careful out there.
Yeah. This is actually a kind of a good segue to talk about something we've been working on at the Helium Foundation, which is we've all known that like the 12-word scam is out there, right? Somebody gets you to enter those somewhere and they get full access. That's like the most rudimentary way to like steal somebody's shit. So we've heard that. The one that's kind of sneaking up on folks a little bit is signing transactions that do things that are sort of hidden in the transaction and gives people, delegate access to your USDC account, or just transfers everything to a different wallet when you thought it was going to do a swap or an airdrop or something like that.
Yeah.
And wallets today don't do a really fantastic job of telling you what's going on there.
Right.
So one of the things we're on this really big push to like fix and improve user experience in the Helium wallet app, and then we're hoping this all cascades out to all of these other apps that are out there.
Yep.
But we really crypto's not going to go anywhere if 10% of people are always getting scammed because they just clicked on a link that looked like they should have been able to click on. You got to be able to use the thing without being terrified. So we're doing a bunch of work to add transparency to what's going on. So there's a badge that'll pop up if more than 2 token accounts are being touched. if there's a lot of things that it's just like, well, that shouldn't usually happen, and we can sort of help show people what's going on. So keep an eye out for that. It's something that I'm really excited about. We get to kind of push the space forward a little bit in that regard.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's a bummer. I see Derek has been hit. I mean, I think at this point, most of us have been stung at least a little bit, some more than others. So, and it's hard because the folks who watch this typically are like, oh yeah, I got that. Like, this is so boring. You just got to be careful.
It sneaks up on you. And I think one of the things that I want to encourage folks, like if it happens to you, tell people how it happened. Like, I think there's a lot of like embarrassment when it happens because you're like, I knew better. I shouldn't have clicked the link. But there's no better way to shut down the scammers than to like show their hand, basically. Like, we all know the Nigerian scammer, like Nigerian prince thing. Like, that's the classic. Everyone knows if somebody tells you they've got funds that they need you to take or something, that you're in for a bad time. But it
is easier to get scammed if someone's like, hey, I'm over at support at Helium. I saw you're having problems in the Discord. Just wanted to reach out and walk you through it. Like, that will bite you for sure. 100%.
Yeah. So, and I guess for what it's worth, the thing that we're still seeing a lot of is like the 12-word, what they'll do is they will say, because we've been so good about saying don't tell anyone your 12 or 24 words, they'll come in and say, enter your 12 and 24 words into this secure site. I can't see them.
Yep.
And it'll be a clone of helium.com.
Yep.
And then you'll press like connect account. It'll be like, oh, sorry, I couldn't do that. Please enter your words. And then they've got it. That's the most common thing we're seeing today.
Yeah, that's how I got. Was that same thing? I was just like, oh, we're just bridging this over. The network's down temporarily. Let me just walk you through this. I can't see him. Put your 12 words in. I did, and there went my whatever it was, 18 ETH or something. So I was like, yeah, fucking less than optimal. Okay, so I think that is out there. We don't need to beat that horse too much, but certainly we'll beat the drum a little bit.
Kind of do. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah. In that vein, there are there is a lot in crypto that's just not kind of normal, or that's something you don't see in your everyday life. I'm seeing there was an announcement on people burning their Helium NFTs because they didn't want extra NFTs in their wallet or something. I typically, once they're in there, I don't touch that shit, but tell me what's going on there.
So basically, now that we're on Solana, it's like really cheap to we didn't have NFTs before, right? That was just not a thing on the Helium chain. And so now you've got people that will just drop these NFTs in your wallet to be like, they're usually scams, like come click this link and claim your Orca tokens or something like that. And so don't
get your airdrop fast before it runs out. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But the fun little thing there is you can actually burn those tokens sometimes and get a little bit of soul back, because each of these tokens, when they're created, or the NFTs, they require a bit of rent on the Solana chain. So you can get a couple of cents back if you go and like grab all these things and burn them. And what we were seeing is people didn't realize that their hotspots were also NFTs. And so they were going and just select all, burn, and then their hotspot couldn't be rewarded anymore. And so again, improvements to the Helium wallet app to try and make that a little more clear. We actually reached out to Soul Incinerator, which is the platform that a lot of folks were using. And we're just like, hey, this is happening. So they put some protections in place to help people out there. It's unfortunate. I think that's all I got to say on that. Yeah,
just be careful.
Again, be careful. Yeah,
pay attention. What's going on over at Solana Scribes? I know we talked about that last week. That's going on all month, I think you're saying. Anything new and hot on that?
Yeah, I've got a massive stack of pull requests. So we've had a bunch of people coming in, making improvements to docs, making additions, clarifications, all that fun stuff. So we're getting pretty good traction there. I'm trying to block out little bits of time each day to review stuff and get it merged in. But I'm excited. I've heard from a couple of folks that they're working on some like bigger pieces, which I'm excited to see some of that stuff come through.
Cool.
But yeah, for anyone who's like, what is this thing? It's a hackathon just for documentation, and we're doing a track just for the Helium documentation. And so there's $15,000 worth of tokens that we will allocate to anyone who has a pull request merge, and we're doing it sort of on a points basis based on like the effort and scale.
Okay, so it's available for nerds because GitHub is a little bit nerdy. But
maybe
I can get my 7 cents for doing a PR for this data only thing that's kicking my ass.
Yeah, that would actually be a really good one. And it's probably going to be more than 7 cents, given the, there's a lot of tokens out there, and there's a lot of,
Okay.
So probably worth the time.
Yeah, it's been a fun thing, and you and I have gone back and forth on it a little bit. Getting a data only online, I was having problems with it. I don't know if there's a bug in the system or if it's usually operator error with me, but you never know. So it'd be fun to clean that up, make it easy for everyone else. It's always a cool thing.
Yeah, I think it's once we get the concentrator doing its thing, just like as a LoRaWAN gateway, it's going to be smooth sailing. So we'll get there.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right, I got a bunch of DePIN news I'll burn through. So WeatherXM is closing in on their TGE. Tomorrow is the first day they could possibly announce that they're going to do it. I think it's pretty safe to say they're not going to do that. There'll probably be another announcement about what's going on just so people are in the know, but kind of exciting to see after a couple of years that project is a lot closer. They're still going through the last bugs. I think they're probably one of the best examples of building almost totally in public. And it's been really frustrating for their community that doesn't understand that they didn't buy like a perfect out of the box weather station. They bought a beta unit. And so that's been an interesting challenge to solve, is to say like, hey, you're part of the test. If you didn't want to be part of the test, you should have bought an ambient weather station for $1,600 that will work all the time, every time, but it won't pay you any tokens. So, a concentrator, Derek, is basically radio. It's probably the easiest way to think about that.
It's the processing side of hearing stuff from the air, do a lot of thinking about it, and then send out decoded stuff on the other end. That's
cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, I like
it. It does a lot of things. Yeah,
there's a ton of magic going in there. And maybe once we get that going, I'll do a quick kind of recap of how we did whatever we did, so that if you want to build your own helium hotspot, we have a little video on that. So let's see. 𝐒𝐻𝐸 is going to be out at ETH Denver. They're super excited to be doing a 5-minute presentation at IoTeX. They're going to be at the IoTeX booth. IoTeX is running their real world event again, so that'll be on the 28th in Denver. They rented out a really nice place last year. They're probably going to do the same thing this year. That'll be cool to see kind of all the different projects come down the pipe. And 𝐒𝐻𝐸 is also, I think, distributing their first 250 hardware units out there. So if you did buy a NFT for 𝐒𝐻𝐸, which is a privacy first project, you should, we'll see, be able to pick up your hardware out there. So
cool. Well, launch event. It's exciting.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool. They're also going to have a masquerade party because it's a privacy thing. So I think that's like fun. I'm not like a big mask guy, but I'm just thinking, I think I've got a gorilla mask somewhere in the closet that I can bring out and at least pretend to be someone else for a while.
I was thinking the VO2 mat.
Oh yeah, I guess I could do that. Yeah. I got some news on that later on because we're coming down to the wire on the grant. Let's see. Cool. IoTeX event at ETH Denver on the 28th. The Meson event is the first. That looks like a pretty good one as well. Max is speaking at that. I'm moderating a panel. It's going to be a bunch of DePIN stuff. I think they're calling it the DePIN Summer event. And then Demo has a coffee shop meetup on the 2nd. I'm sure there's a bunch of other events out there. Those are just the ones that I'm looking at. What's going on with Helium and the Google Pixel? Do you know anything about this, Joey? I started seeing a bunch of
it's just I don't know, Mark Phillips and the whole BD team over there. Those guys they work. So a little bit. I don't know a whole lot about the mobile side. I'll continue to reiterate that. But as far as I understand, in order to get these partnerships, it's not just like, I'll sell your phone. They want to see commitments and scale and all these sorts of promises. It's like it's a full-on contract.
Cool.
So
good
yeah,
sign.
It's cool to see that. Like one of the blockers a lot of times is like, I've got this old phone. I don't want to like the only reason I'm signing up for a thing is so I can get a phone, all that fun stuff. So now they have the ability to like pull all those levers alongside the carrier offering, which is pretty exciting.
Got it. I don't think I'll switch over to Android, but my phone is definitely pretty fucking cracked at the bottom corner there, and starting to be near end of life. So I may have to consider switching.
Well, I'll say one of the exciting things here at Mountain Dow, I came in and somebody already had a Helium mobile hotspot set up, and then I brought one. So there's 2 of them now. So we've got like this run and then like this run of this WeWork all covered. And I pulled like 4 gigs, 5 gigs, something like that yesterday. So there's a lot of Helium mobile in this room, which is, it's fun to see.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's rad. I said I got my outdoor set up and got it up nice and high, and so now it's earning a little bit more, which is great because it was just like 300 mobile a day sitting in my closet where I left it when I went to Indiana. I just didn't have time to mount it. So
yeah.
And then I saw, are you going to get, or have you gotten, or do you want to share the Solana 2 thing? I just see that there's a Solana 2. They're saying like, hey, it's a phone. No, actually, they're not saying it's a phone. They're just saying it's a thing, and we're trying to figure out what it is. I think they're going to do an AI agent, but that's just me taking a wild guess. It's $450. I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend $450 for something that's going to happen sometime next year.
Right. I think a lot of, so I didn't sign up. I've got a phone. I'm happy with my phone.
Yeah, my shit works.
Android. So like, I think it's cool they're doing it. It pushes the space forward, and that's all exciting. But I think a lot of people are excited about it because it, the ecosystem is really supporting it. So people are doing all these like NFT airdrops and all that fun stuff. So people are really excited about it from that side of things. And then I've seen some, posts from Tolly being like, what should we put in here? And people are chiming in like, put in a LoRa radio so we can do like Helium IoT text messaging and like all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's, a little bit of a blank slate. Maybe they've already got the thing together. It's hard to say, but it'd be cool to see how that evolves.
Yeah.
They've pre-ordered like 100,000 of them. It's
a boatload. Yeah. No, I think maybe I'll talk to Max and be like, hey, we should just do a Goldhawks. We'll call this a business expense and get one of these things just to have our hand in the game. So, and I do think, Jim, it might be like the Rabbit, which is a little like the very first, I think it'll be the first physical AI agent out there. Maybe Google has that pin that beat it. But yeah. Ooh, fancy.
Just Apple Watch. It's a wearable out there. It's not totally AI though. Yeah.
There's some cool stuff coming down the pipe, and I think, if they've got a year to do it, it wouldn't surprise me if they said like, hey, let's push this hard. So funnily enough, if you remember, Joey, Bobcat, which I'm sure you do, which is a big manufacturer of Helium hotspots, their head of customer service, and is now the head of customer service or customer operations over at Rabbit.
Oh, so no way.
Yeah, I just saw that on LinkedIn the other day, and I texted her. I was like, hey, congrats on the job. That's super cool. I know it was pretty stressful after Bobcat, but kind of psyched to see like our crypto people disseminating out into the rest of the technology world, which she was already way into it. She was already way into the IoT stuff, so it wasn't super new for her, but it's kind of neat to see what's going down there.
Yeah, she was a huge force when she was working at Bobcat. I chatted with her a bunch, so that's cool to see.
Yeah, she's a crusher, and she's a good person. I got to meet her up in Austin, and we had talked a bunch. I think I did a blog post on the 5G stuff because they sent me one. I like working with her. If I get a chance to work with her, it's like, I'm a yes Fran.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, awesome.
Let's see, HyperRAM, quick question. If I have a hotspot, is there a way to access the Wi-Fi without having a SIM card? I don't think so.
No.
No, I think you got to have the Helium SIM in order to hit the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. The SIM loads a cert through the app. It's a whole thing. So
there's some technology shit that goes on. Okay. So let's see. Have you done anything with Farcaster, Joey? I'm seeing people jump on it. I got a stupid name a while ago. I've got the Gristleking ETH. I even forgot how I fucking did it. I know you had to spend some monkey bucks to do it. What's going on there, dude?
I don't know. I'm same. I signed up. I peek in there every now and then.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple people posting. They get like 4 or 5 likes. So it kind of feels like Threads again. Like people keep sort of spinning up these like Twitter lookalikes, and it's hard to get people to bump over. So
I saw a bio was over there, and I think WeatherXM has been there like, oh, Farcaster's going to be super good, and I keep getting on there. I'm like, I don't I don't see that much. And it seems like this is pretty interesting, is on the like marketing communication side, lots of folks who are, and this is none of the people I've mentioned, but there are lots of opportunistic jackwagons who are jumping into Farcast. You're like, oh, I'm a fucking DePIN expert and going for it. I'm like, I don't remember seeing your name before. And I've been around the block a couple times. Like, who the fuck are you and where did you come from and what do you know? And you watch them and it's like, oh, they have no idea what they're talking about. I think there's a interesting problem to solve there where you're like, and this could be something crypto does, where you say, hey, how much validity does this person have, or is this person worth listening to?
Right. It's that statement's got some get off my lawn vibes. I love it, but
Well, I'm seeing all these folks who are all of a sudden DePIN experts, and it's just a little bit frustrating. It's like, where were you last summer? You know, and we're like, hey, this is what's going on. Here's the big thing coming down the pipe. Here's this.
I think we're going to see a lot of that too. It's like as things sort of wake up, people are going to hop from topic to topic to topic, and we see this all the time. So just try to find those folks that are really steadfast and clear.
And I think we just added this question into the DePIN state shows is, how do you define a DePIN and how is your project a DePIN? That just went on the Subsquid one. In fact, the Subsquid one might go live today. And if you watch it, you'll notice that I fucked everything up in the first 10 seconds. I'm like, hey, I'm Nick Hawks. I'm your guest. And today we have whatever instead of your host, like, oh, for Christ's sake. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That was a wild conversation we had the other week of trying to define DePINs, and people were like, wait, Bitcoin totally. And it's just like, no, that's like, you can't just toss everything in there. It's not the point. So.
Yeah. Yeah,
we need those Masari guys to come back and be like, "This is what we meant." It's like, or I guess IoTeX has taken some stabs at defining the space. Like, there's a couple of definitions out there, but I think we just gotta be loud about it.
And it does seem like, to me, it seems like people are trying to define the space in order to own like expertise in the space, not to actually define it. Like, they just want to put it out there, so it's like, hey, here's my definition of DePIN. Look at me.
Oh, for sure.
I look at the definition, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's like a Me Too thing. Like don't forget about me. I'm relevant to this conversation. I don't know. Yeah.
All right.
We're getting grumpy now.
Yeah. Let's see. Wingbits is introducing a new reward model. I saw that. So I went a while ago, maybe a month ago. I went, you can subscribe to all these different channel announcements. And in the Gristleking server, I just subscribed to every channel announcement for every DePIN project that I thought was probably worth a shit. And so now I've got one channel that's only open to the Gristle crew right now. But it gets every announcement from Helium, from Demo, from Wingbits, from WeatherXM, from all these, from Ator, whatever. And it's like, oh, this has been a super cool way to quickly look and see what's going on in the DePIN space, at least in the folks that are doing Discord. So cool to see Wingbits is super active in that, and Silencio is really active in that for a while. I haven't seen anything from them for a while. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
Folks, let's see. Wi-Fi Daba, we checked in with them yesterday. Max and I were talking to them, and they're like, hey guys, we're just heads down on a code sprint, so we'll pop back up when we're ready. And I just thought that was that's good news, right? They're working super hard. They're not vacationing in the Seychelles. They are smashing out code. So that's kind of cool to see. Hive Mapper's got a bunch of different MIPS out there, and I like this. I don't know the answer to this. Are HIPs the first improvement proposal kind of structure, or was there like Bitcoin improvement proposals before that?
Yeah, we ripped it off Bitcoin BIPs.
Okay. So there were BIPs, and now there are HIPs, and now there's MIPS, and there's a bunch of okay, cool.
And I still think that Hive Mapper should have called theirs MAPs, which would have been map improvement proposals.
Map awesome proposals or something, or map accessibility proposal.
Yeah, but like, how cool would it be for them to be called maps? Like,
instead of MIPS.
Yeah.
Oh, well, so they announced that you can now create a new region a lot faster than you used to be able to. So that's cool. It's just cool to see speed going on. And then there's two things that they did that I think are important across every project. That we're seeing Helium do with the Solana Scribe stuff is they've proposed two funds. One is a data fund and the other is a reward for app contribution fund. But basically what they're doing is saying, hey, we are going to start setting aside tokens for the community who's going to build these things pretty much anyway. And we're going to help seed that stuff that's going down. So the data fund is for, nerds who are going to build the spreadsheets that allow you to see what the fuck is going on with your Hive mapper. They want to make sure that those nerds get some tokens and get a little bit of seed funding in that sense. I got to be careful the words I use. But yeah, get a little bit of help to get off the ground. And I think that's pretty cool.
Cool.
So,
yeah.
We're seeing the same thing with Helium. You're doing Solana Scribes. You guys have done a bunch of grants.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned like setting up new regions, and the one of the things that went live this past week was on-chain hex boosting for the mobile network, which is just a cool little milestone.
Yeah. There's all kinds of shit going down. It's super cool to see just how fast all the developments are going. Let's see. In the background, I think Max and I this week took more inbound calls from potential clients than we've taken before. So to me, that's a really nice indication that the DePIN space is growing, and these projects are seeing, hey, personally, obviously it's good for us because more clients is good. Although we're getting to the point where it's like, we're probably gonna have to start saying no to folks. But it's just good to see that the space has matured enough to say, okay, there's an expertise out there. We see that expertise. We want to apply it to our project to make sure that our project is good. I think that's generally good signal for the space. So yeah, cool to see.
Yeah, that is good. People trying to do the right thing, or like at least take the first right steps. That's a really good sign.
Yeah. One of the guys called Max cantankerous, and I was like, oh, that is so perfect.
Gotta save those. Yeah.
Yeah. Save those big words. Let's see. Jim, I need to deploy some DePIN in hundreds of our existing solar energy systems. Unlike the rest of the solar DePINs, they seem focused on carbon credits and DeFi. I'm bringing adopt utility. I think, if we just focus on that last part, the utility piece is that's where the DePIN stuff is going to decouple from Bitcoin from the rest of crypto. Once there's full on massive tidal wave utility there, then it's like, okay, now it's its own separate thing. The crypto becomes kind of secondary to the utility of it. So is what I think is going to happen. But Jim, if you're doing something with solar and you kind of want help with it, reach out. Maybe I can at least point you in the right direction, or do whatever it is I can do to put my shoulder to the wheel for you.
Yeah, and there's some stuff out there in the works on the solar energy market stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw an answer to that within the next 3-4 months.
Yeah, for sure. Keenan, what's up, dog? Good to see you here.
Hey.
Community manager, shit, yeah. Let's see. On my side, we've talked about the VO2 mask a couple times. Interestingly, the government extended the grant submission deadline period from, I think it was the 6th, and then they extended it to the 14th, and now it's to the 21st. I don't think there's going to be any more extensions, but it's been super cool for me to get to go back through the grant and have way more time to think about what I'm going to do. And one interesting piece, and this has nothing to do with DePIN, but I think it's just kind of neat in general, is one of the requirements for the grant is to be able to test the mask. So you put the sensors in the mask, you put in an SCD30 for the carbon dioxide, you put in an Omron, whatever the fuck it is, oxygen sensor, and you can look at those sensors and say, okay, well, the SCD30 is plus or minus, whatever, like 300 parts per million or something like that. So it should be that good, but you don't know what's actually going through. You have to run gas through there and check it. And the whole almost like industry of test equipment on the medical side for ventilatory stuff is a fucking maze, dude. Like there's not a lot out there where you can, at least that I've found, and I've been searching for a week and a half. So someone who's been in this for 30 years might be like, no, you idiot, you're just looking in the wrong place. But I'm not seeing anything where you can like slap a mask on basically a head, run a bunch of known gas through that and be like, oh yeah, the mask is working to detect carbon dioxide and oxygen, or it's not. Like we're having to build our own test rig, which is, I don't know, it's kind of cool and nerdy.
Wow. Yeah, that'll probably start to unweave the story of why these things cost $5,000 or whatever. But hopefully it doesn't reach into that for you.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to one of the engineers at one of these instrument places this morning, and the options are for testing that are pretty crazy. Like to test CO2 and O2 down to what the fuck was it? There's all these different terms. So, to 99% accuracy, you have to run the gas by them for something like 10 minutes, which is not totally practical on a mask, although you can, for in a testing environment, you can do it. That thing's $10,000, and it's a little device. It's a, fancy little sensor device. And the only way you can use that, it doesn't look like it's a pass-through thing, is you basically take your known gas. So I go to Airgas and I'm like, hey, Airgas, I want to buy like 3 bottles. One bottle's got normal compressed air in it. One bottle's got air that is probably like what's going to get breathed out by me as a pretty normal athlete. So maybe 16% air and 4% CO2. And one bottle's got something that's probably going to get breathed out that is equivalent to what's getting breathed out by an exceptional athlete. So they're consuming a lot more oxygen. They're producing more CO2. And then I'm going to test that stuff. Like the way that thing works is you hook the bottle up to the sensor unit. You run the gas through the sensor unit for 10 minutes to check it. Then you unplug from the sensor unit. You plug it into a mechanical lung. You have to fill that mechanical lung with the air, and then you start breathing the lung, which is a bellows.
Wow.
Yeah, nerd stuff. Sorry.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's way more involved than I thought. I thought you just like hook a tube up to it and call it a day, but you got like lung models and all sorts of stuff going on.
Yeah. I mean, one of the grant requirements is a mechanical lung. So I was like, oh, what's that? Well, of course, those things cost $11,000, or if you want to spend $30,000, it's like, what the fuck?
Wow.
The demo on the lung was amazing. Like, I think Joey, you and I could build one in my garage in like a weekend. Like it's basically 2 wooden boards and some kind of fancy cloth, and then a motor that just has the wooden boards go back and forth, and there's a fucking spring is how they control how fast the boards go back and forth, and it's a bellows, so it breathes in air, and then as it compresses, it pushes it out the end. That's it. Wow. That's as fancy as it gets.
That's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, $11,000. So if you and I want to go into the mechanical lung business, I think we got a backup for crypto.
Yeah, just weird ass that's wild. I love the niche stuff. That's really exciting.
Yeah. And it made me think I was on a walk. I was like, oh, we could probably build like a little cylinder piece that has basically a motor that spins something, and as it spins, it goes up a screw and it pushes the air out, and then you can reverse it and it sucks it back in, and it's probably a more elegant way to do it, and also much more precise. Because when I was asking these guys with the lung, I was like, okay, cool. How do I know how much air has gone through it? And they're like, well, you just you look at it, the bag's 1.5 liters and it's going in and out 12 times a minute, so you multiply 1.5 times 12. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, because I feel like the rates would be really important, because you've got this big thing and it's going to be like really fast exhale and then like little exhale as it gets. Yeah. So I like your idea of that screw, because you could completely model the flow rates.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm kind of debating this. I've got 7 days now to put the grant in, but maybe I just put as part of this, like, we're just going to build our own lung on this screw thing, because I think that's going to be way better. And then it's like, oh yeah, I put in 1 milliliter of air. Like that's how much I put in a second. And then I screw it way faster, and it's, goes up to their requirement, which is 370 liters per minute, which is more than a human can exhaust.
So, wow, cool.
Fun shit.
Yeah.
But we should probably get back to deep and stuff. What else is going on with helium? What are you seeing up in Mountain Dow since you're there?
Well, so I'm going to do a workshop tomorrow.
Okay.
And actually I want to use Medio Scientific Console to run that little workshop. So hopefully that's okay.
Yeah.
Throw a bunch of people on there.
It's permissionless.
But I came out here, so Solana's really important for helium just from an ecosystem standpoint. But it's also really cool to see the opportunities to like take helium data, sensor data, and bring that back into the Solana chain. So I've been talking with folks around various ways to do that, and like the product opportunities and stuff that comes from taking some real world thing and putting it back on chain. So been hearing a lot of cool ideas on that. And then I just want to help folks to go and build those things. So I've got, handful of dev boards, what I could fit in my backpack. And we're going to do a little workshop, get people build a sensor, get to see some data. And then, let them do what they want with it from there. But
cool.
A lot of people are just heads down this is a month-long thing, so it's not like a hackathon where somebody comes in and tries to crank through some project with a bunch of Red Bull. Like, people are here working, they're having meetings, they're kind of talking. There were a bunch of people here last night, way past me, playing poker. So yeah, it's just kind of a good time to get to see these folks face to face, kind of learn the community a little bit more.
Yeah. Huh. Super cool. What sensors did you bring out there?
I brought 𝐒𝐩𝐨𝐬𝐲𝐬𝐸, so
Okay.
the standard map HTCC.
Shockingly, you brought a mappers, huh?
I can't resist. I was hoping that I could pull a temperature reading off of the die, but the 𝐒𝐩𝐶 libraries didn't include that. Huh. So it goes from being like a one-liner thing to a like 2,000 line implementation. So I'm not doing a temperature sensor with those. I'll probably just send some mock payloads as part of the demo, and people can figure out the rest from there.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I'm kind of thinking of what it'd be. Yeah, I guess it'd be fun to have these projects that are like super useful to folks, where you show up. And that was, I think, the idea behind the seed kit, the little cylinder thing. It's like, oh, you can do whatever you want.
I think once you see like just making, connecting the dots a little bit for folks and saying like, oh, I press this button and I see it over here, and then it's like, oh well, I could hook that up to a package. Anything. I could, like whatever. And just knowing that you can control that payload and send whatever you want is kind of the really cool thing there. So, I'm cool with sending. I don't need to go all the way down and like show people GPS, because then you're thinking about all of that.
Yep.
It's not workshop material. But yeah, I think it'll be fun. I threw the thing in the chat for this whole event, and I got an awesome response. So I think I'll have a person for every dev kit, and we'll do some cool stuff. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, that's tomorrow afternoon. And then I guess similar Solana topic, I see Bradley in here. Him and I and a couple of other folks are going to be on a regenerative finance podcast tomorrow morning. So this is the idea that effectively crypto and these decentralized ecosystems can do good in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are the ways that these models can go and like incentivize or build or whatever it is, like carbon tracking, trash cleanup, like whatever, poaching prevention, stuff like that.
Yep.
So I won't steal the thunder too much, but that's going to happen tomorrow, and I think they're going to syndicate that out as a podcast as well.
Cool. Super cool. Yeah, I'm seeing that in some of the calls that Max and I are having, is that, we're starting to see this movement beyond like, okay, how do we build a, for-profit system for everybody, to like a for-profit and for-good system for everyone. So.
Yeah. And we see a lot of cool stuff, and it's great to be able to go into an event like that and talk about use cases and not just like hypotheticals. So a lot of cool stuff has happened in the past year that we'll get to go and kind of point to.
Yeah. I guess we're remiss in not talking about the Mexico City Wi-Fi hotspot, which I totally fucking forgot about, but was big news.
Yeah.
I can't remember if that was this week or last week that I saw that, or that came out, but yeah, pretty cool to see that thing going international, and nice little bump there.
Well, the really big deal there is that this isn't Helium Mobile going into Mexico. This is Mexico roaming onto Helium Mobile. And so this is that carrier offload thing that we've been really excited about for a really long time. This is the existing telcos saying like, hey, there's value in people going and deploying hardware and providing us a cheaper option to what our other offload would have been. And that's the thing that's like really going to push some scale here, I think. So it's pretty exciting to see that partnership happening.
Yeah, it's super cool to see it and just spread out in general.
Yeah.
Gravy. It's got 28,000 accounts that they read on a public drinking water system using Neptune meters. 600 have V5 LoRa chips that can send data via Helium. Can I leverage Helium to read the radios on all of the others? I guess it depends on what all of the others are sending data with.
Yeah. Yes.
If I'm reading that right. I don't know if that's like a I'll tell you this: if you're sending it with RTL 433, I've got this project called the Helium Bridge that you can use, but I don't know how it's sent. I don't understand it.
Yeah, probably more details needed on that, but
Yeah.
We certainly see a lot of water metering, gas metering, all that stuff. Yeah, Neil, I think is pointing in the
Neil,
right
what's up,
direction.
dog?
Roaming could probably be the way to go.
Dude, come on. The link is the same, Neil. Come say hi. It's been too long since I've seen your face.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah.
Get in here. Get in here, turkey. I'm going to be out in Neil's neck of the woods in June to go visit my sister, so I'll have to go see if I can find the giant and give a high five, because that was cool last time I got to do that in London.
Cool. Yeah, other fun story, that truck thing. I don't know if you want to get into that.
Oh, your truck got stolen. Yeah, no, I did not miss that. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that your truck got stolen. I'm happy to hear you recovered it.
Yeah, it is really frustrating and really much a bummer, but I did get a kind of cool story out of it, so I'll tell the story.
Some jackwagon fucked up the transmission trying to learn how to drive stick on your truck?
Yep. So it got stolen out front of my place, and first of all, I keep an air tag in there, and I had a Invoxia LoRaWAN tracker in there, and I had these plans to go like build in hardwired tracker mapper that send tons of uplinks and be a mapper, all sorts of fun stuff. Haven't gotten around to it, but fortunately had those two things in there. And basically woke up in the morning remembering that I needed to move my car for my partner, and I was like, the car, like, where is it? And so go look at the apps, and I was like, it's like near a freeway, and I was like, okay, that sometimes that happens with these trackers. They just kind of pop into a weird place, and you're like, oh, maybe it was a bad GPS reading.
Yeah.
But then check the both together, and they're reading in the same spot together, and like, oh, I know where they are. So immediately called the police, called a buddy. He came, picked me up. We went straight down there, found the car within probably about 5 minutes, because we had pins right on the map. It was hidden behind a gate, so they had like pushed it in or whatever, and then closed a gate behind it, so we didn't see it. But like peeked around the corner, and yeah, there it was. Both of the trackers were still in there.
Nice.
And managed to get to it before people did like a ton of damage to it, because it was in like an encampment. People were just kind of like picking stuff off of it, I guess. But
they clearly needed it more than you did.
I don't think they knew what they were doing. It's one of those like, let's just start undoing screws to see what's in here kind of thing, because it was all just still sitting there.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the whole project for me when I get back, is start evaluating what's going on. But I'm really happy to have had those trackers in there, just because otherwise, like, I had a flight that day and I had to push it back. And so it was like all these things just kind of stacked on top of each other. But I was able to get the thing back almost immediately, because I could see exactly where it was.
Yep.
So my whole new platform is a LoRaWAN tracker in every car. That's my presidential.
It makes me think I should put a couple of trackers I've got in the cars that I've got. So
it's a really cheap insurance policy, keep a battery charged, and other than that, like you're, you can go find stuff again, which is great.
Oh yeah, and I guess you could do a whole thing like Neil's saying, is you just put a couple sensors in there, like, all right, if the door's open and I'm not in there, go ahead and shoot me a text.
Yeah, there's like dead man switch. I could do something like that with LoRaWAN. I think we can kind of neat.
I mean, ideally we see airstrikes, and it's like, hey, if it's moving and Joey's not in it, just couple preds up top.
Self detonation. Yeah. Trust me. Yeah. Oh yes, 916 of the demo. It's just such a good deal. Like, I love the Macaron demo tracker that's out there. It's got a good like product front end on it. It plugs straight into the car, so you're not thinking about batteries.
Yep.
And it's relatively cheap. It's like $100. They cover the data for 3 years.
For Macaron, I've got to sort mine out because I still have the wallet problem I've had forever. I want to make sure, Gravy, can I reach out to either you or Joey to see if we could deploy some CBRS combo units that also use HNT throughout the system? You certainly don't need our permission to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you want help with like the tech stuff, you can ping me on Discord or Joey if you got a specific thing. But yeah, you can just buy the things and deploy them. That's the beauty of Helium. Yep. You can get it up there. 619. How did you lose your car at a reggae concert? How is that possible?
Can only imagine. The question is which reggae concert? I may have been to it. Yeah.
Do you know Germ used to be a keyboardist for some big reggae band? And I think German 619 were talking. It's like, oh yeah, and it wasn't Bob Marley, but it was like some crazy huge band, and Germ's just like, that dude's fucking fantastic on the piano. So
that's cool. Yeah. I did hear that. He's many talents.
Yeah. I like hanging out with that guy. I was psyched when my hotspot went down. I'm like, oh cool, I get to work with Germ again, because I'll go ping him and ask him for help. So 619, relax.
There's too many numbers.
Yeah. Let's see. Meshtastic stuff. Have you done anything with Meshtastic? I know we've talked about it a little bit. You played with it?
Not really. Like, it comes as like a demo on a lot of these boards, and I play with it a little bit, but that's about it.
Yeah, I've got all those, I think they're 4631s in the European trackers. Did I grab those last time and show you?
You were talking about a little bit. Just, I think there's a bit more of a network.
So if you pull it to the side, open. I thought I had an open one, maybe not. If you open these things up, which is the Rack 10701s. I got a bunch of those for that Helium in the Wild thing.
Yep.
And a lot of them didn't work that well, but it turns out they've got this useful little thing in them that you can use for Meshtastic or anything. I guess I could probably use it as a mapper as well. And you need what do they call it? The Rack DAP to like reprogram it, because it's all in RUI, which has been for me a giant pain in the ass. But yeah, I've been pulling those things out and making little Meshtastic units out of them, and they got GPS with it, and they got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and yeah, it's kind of cool to see what they did with that hardware and how it gets repurposed.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a cool project. I still have the dream of seeing some sort of like decentralized communication happening over LoRaWAN or something like that, in a similar way. But there's a lot more pieces when you start thinking about that coordination.
Germ was talking about a way to, he call it muxing. I think it's, multi something or other. But you can basically take a Helium hotspot, especially if it's DIY, and say, hey, you can do Helium, and when you're not doing Helium, you can do Meshtastic, because we already have all the Helium hotspots up there, and that would be a super cool way to, all of a sudden, you have this giant grid, and then you can totally do the communication that you want.
Yeah. So that would be pretty wild, because it would be completely decentralized too.
Yeah. It'd be a rad thing, but I don't think it's something, even with all the genius that Germ has, I don't think it's something you can knock out in 5 minutes. I think that's probably a significant effort project.
Yeah. Got to keep those concentrators happy for their job too. So
yeah,
the muxing stuff it's challenging. So
I can say the word, and that is pretty much where my expertise stops.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it multiplexing or something?
Yeah.
Something like that. So let's see, Gravy. Just another question on CBRS. I have 2 430s deployed. My rewards have just dove over the last couple of months since the hips. Yeah, I think the reward side is going to go down as the pie is going to stay the same size. More and more people are taking slices out of that pie. Same game as the original IoT Helium network, is that it's, if you're early, you earn a ton of tokens. If you're not early, you don't earn a ton of tokens. So
yeah, but it's probably a lot less about the hips, but a lot more about growth.
Yeah. Yep. That sounds right. Cool. What else, Joey?
Oh boy.
That's all the notes I got.
Let me see. What did I say? Bow. Yeah. I think that's probably hit all the big stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this last piece here, the Gravy, I'm wondering if I should just hang tight. I'm going to translate that to mean, should I just leave the things up there and running? And I think that's a pretty good question for all DePIN projects. And I see this, and certainly Gravy, not saying that you're doing this, but I see this across projects where people are like, oh, this thing's not working the way I wanted, or it's not earning me enough, or it's not doing something, I'm just going to unplug it. There was this like, I don't know if you remember the great unplug movement for helium. They were going to show helium what's up. And I think with this general concept across all DePINs is once you get the miner installed and it's up and it's running smoothly for a week, I would just fucking forget about it. And that is like, if you're going to use the network, great, use the network. I wouldn't mess around too much with trying to either optimize or move it to a different location, or do anything other than just leave it alone. I think all of those things radically increase your frustration. And from what I've seen across all of these networks, they typically don't make any difference in how much you earn. Nothing significant.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're looking at the like long tail of DePIN, like for this segment to be successful, like the users of those networks need to like have the trust that those networks are going to stick around and that people aren't like bouncing in, bouncing out, which it'll happen to a certain extent, but the stability is the part that people are like on the lower wind side, right? Like we were in a bear market for a long time, and we actually had better conversations with roaming partners because they're like, wait, you guys are in like the worst you could be.
Your down cycle,
and you still have like hundreds of thousands of these gateways out there providing coverage. And so
dude, so I'd been looking forever for this information. How many, I was like, so helium's big, great. Everybody can see online how many is on there. We all saw that it had 600,000 at the peak, and it's now down to, I don't know, 358, whatever it is. 350, something like that. Yeah. 300,000 or 400,000. And I always had the question, well, how big is the next biggest network? And I'd written TTN because I assumed that TTN was the next biggest network. And I said, hey, could you just tell me how many gateways are on there? Like, is that publicly available information? And they never wrote me back. And I looked on their website. I couldn't find it. I looked on their website the other day for an article Max and I are writing. They publish it. 21,000 gateways.
Yep.
So it goes from, and maybe, Senate or Actility is bigger than TTN. I'm not sure. I don't know. But certainly TTN is a big enough network to be like, oh yeah, it's one of the biggest.
Oh yeah. Yeah. TTN is large, especially in Europe. They have like really solid coverage. There's probably other networks out there that like, number of gateways isn't necessarily correlated to coverage because our network deploys in a relatively uncoordinated way. So you've got, and also TTN does as well, right? Like that's people going slapping the things up where they need them.
Yep.
And then you're going to have somebody like a water utility for an entire country or something like that. And they're going to cover it in a much more methodical way, but it's going to be a much more expensive network and it's probably going to be private. So, there's probably some stuff out there that, competes on a helium level, but it's not global and it's got trade-offs.
Yeah, it was just, and it is an unfair comparison. It's a good point because the TTN stuff is deployed at least for coverage efficiently for its users, where helium, the primary driver of deployment was not efficient coverage. It was earning tokens.
Well, proof of coverage, incentivizes good deployment too. So, yeah.
I think you make an argument against that. I mean, for some of us, and certainly for you and I, it's like, oh yeah, cool. Let's see how much we can cover. For a lot of folks, it's just like, all right, let's see how much we can earn. But just an interesting thing to see is like, okay, here's this thing that everybody was talking about. It's got 20,000 gateways on there. And then there's helium with, let's just call it to make the math ultra easy, 400,000. That's a little bit of an overstep, but pretty significant difference in size. Not like a double, not like, oh, it's slightly bigger. Like it's fucking way bigger. So multiply by 10, multiply by 2. I think that's how you get from 20 to 400. And then I think 619 is an excellent point. Unplug can be a good option if you're losing money on your off grids. Yeah, I think that's a great point. If you're losing money and it's not working, unplug it. But for most of these DePIN units, right, most things are not off grids. Most things are just connected into your Wi-Fi, which costs you nothing, or that's something in your closet. There's no reason to unplug. It's working.
Yeah, you're talking 2.5, 3 watts for a hotspot. So that's like watching an extra 10 minutes of TV.
Yeah. It's nothing. It's compared to the heat pad that's heating my feet.
Yeah.
No big deal. Cool.
Yep.
right, dude. Well, let's get back to Mountain Dow. Thanks for making time. Always good to see you. And we'll catch you next week.
Sounds good.
Shit, yeah, Joey. All right, thanks, guys. See you guys later. We're out.
Bye.